So for me, I'm like, you know, like let's make it work to our advantage. If I say something, if I say, hey, I need y'all to let her know what's up, it's gonna be like, oh, here go the black kids being sensitive again. But if a white woman comes out and she's like, so actually this is not okay, then it gives someone else a different perspective of like, oh wow, like I didn't know that that was actually offensive.
I just hate that mentality. I hate it. I mean, like, I'm glad that like we've come to a place where we can talk about that kind of stuff and I can say something and feel okay about it, but like it just upsets me.
Red, red wine, red, red wine. Only get better with time. Only get better with time. Red, red wine, red, red wine. Only get better with time. Only get better with time. Only get better with.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Red Wine Girl Time. As you know, I absolutely love having wine with friends.
Cheers.
And today I have the lovely Anna with me.
Hello. Oh, hello.
Tell me more about like where you grew up and how you feel it shaped the woman that you are today.
So I grew up in a very, very small town in North Georgia. I grew up in Hickory Flat in the boonies. So where I grew up, even though it was a very small town, everyone that I went to school with was very privileged in the same way that I was.
Okay.
And then there was like the other side of things. It was either like black and white. No pun intended. You either were very privileged or you had absolutely nothing. My neighborhood's all white. I'll be transparent. We had like maybe 3 or 4 black people in my grade. And it was gross because everyone expected them to like date each other. You know what I mean? It was like
They only got those options.
It was
oh my
disconcerting.
god. It's crazy to think, but like for me, not that like white people weren't real, but like
Yeah.
I only saw white people on TV.
oh, what a bizarre thing to.
Yeah. And then I moved to the South, and everywhere that I worked with white people. I served white people. Like I encountered white people. White people spoke to me. I spoke back to them. Like
Would you like consider it as kind of like a culture shock?
it was
almost?
a culture shock.
Yeah. What was like something that stood out to you or like tilted you? Like why are they like that?
So, okay, so the first time, it was within my first year of living here. And I was working at this restaurant. There's 2 older women, 1 little boy, a teenage boy, and a father, all white. One of the women, like, she wouldn't speak to me. And I didn't notice until I had a question about her order. And so I had a question about her order, and she's still like not looking at me. And this is when I realized that she didn't make eye contact with me at all since I've been at the table. And she was completely ignoring me. So then I asked her a question again, and the lady across from her answered for her. And you can tell when somebody's embarrassed by somebody else's behavior.
Yeah.
Like, and so she answered for her. So then I'm like, nah, I'm tripping. So I put in the order or whatever, and so then I'm like, no, I want to deliver this food. So I go to deliver the food to kind of just spiel it out or whatever, and this lady refused to make eye contact with me. And so then
That makes me want to cry.
it hit me, girl. Y'all gonna think I'm so emotional because I be crying a lot, but
Same.
but I realized, oh my God, is it because of what I look like?
And you hadn't experienced anything like that. You did.
No. And so then
That makes me so
I
sad.
go like throughout the rest of the dining experience. I continue. I just try to like hold it together. And then once it was like time to check them out, and like the lady was like thanking me, like the one who would speak to me, she was like thanking me, but she was like overthinking me in a way that it was kind of apologetic,
like
compensating for this
friend.
person's behavior. And I like had to go to the bathroom and collect myself because I started crying, because I was like, wow, like that's so mean, like for someone to treat me like I don't exist, and the only reason that I could think of is because of the color of my skin.
That's awful.
And I never experienced that before, to like for that to be my go-to, like, oh no, I just think this person's racist. Like she would not speak to me.
But that's awful that like you hadn't had any kind of interactions with white people for a majority of your life, and then you do, and they treat you like that.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Pardon my friend. I'm just gonna go ahead and apologize on behalf of all white people. Actually, no, I'm not, because like if someone, honestly, like if someone offends you in that way, like
they gotta get pulled out.
Saika was actually the one that pointed out to me. She's actually been the only person that has actually, like, bluntly, I feel like we have really good blunt conversations.
We do have really blunt conversations.
Very blunt conversations. Thankfully, it's never gotten heated. Ever. I think just because we're both mature women, we understand how to speak to each other.
But also, like, anytime that we do have any sort of conversation, there's always an opportunity to learn from each other.
Yes.
So it could never get heated because, like, someone is always learning.
Right. And I think that's why, like, you, when you are telling me things, like, you talk to me with such respect, but she's honestly been the only person that has ever told me, like, use your privilege to your advantage. Like, if you want to say something, then just freaking say it.
Oh
like,
my God. Yes.
And she's like literally the only person that has ever said anything like that to me. Like, if you want to speak up, then you actually should.
Because I think this was like a defining moment in our friendship. Like,
for sure.
So Ann and I became cool because I'm just like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. I want to do your makeup and take pictures of you. And so like, anytime we spend time together before this moment, it was always just like
surface level.
Very surface level.
Like makeup.
Very surface level. Work, we hate our job, stuff like that. Boys.
Braiding each other's hair and like having pillow fights.
I'm never letting you braid my hair.
I wouldn't want you to let me do that.
So we had an incident at work where,
and this is not uncommon in any workplace, which is a whole other conversation that should be talked about.
Yes, we had an incident. We work at a restaurant, like we're both waitresses. And so you're always gonna get problematic guests, black or white. That we had someone who works with us come into our backstation, and there was kind of like a disagreement about a table full of black people, and she goes, well, good, hurry up and get their ghetto asses out of here. So the whole room stops, obviously, because a majority of our staff is black. Like, a majority of our staff is black. So two of our coworkers calmly explained to her, because I don't articulate myself well when I'm upset. But two of my coworkers took the lead and just, explained to her why this is not okay.
Right.
So later on, and said person was a white female. So later on, she comes, I guess she was going around doing her rounds of apology. Like, I wasn't trying to be offensive, and what I mean when I say ghetto is A, B, C, and D. And we were trying to explain to her, like, just don't say the word.
Just don't say it.
Just don't say it.
And don't backtrack, because now you just look stupid. Don't try to explain why you use that word.
So then 2 seconds later, after her apology for why she used the word and that she wasn't trying to be offensive, she comes to me and she's like, see, this is what I mean when I say ghetto. And the people who did this weren't even black. Girl.
Oh, shut up. She really said that
Yes.
to you?
So that's why, And so our other coworker was standing there, and so that's why he ended up posting like this really, really long message about just like,
and our work. Like, it's our work group chat.
Yeah, it's our work group chat.
So managers and everyone
can see it, and the owner. And I do think that the managers and the owners handled this situation very, very, very well. But so basically, he gave like this whole long thing about exactly what happened and multiple situations where black tables were being treated a lot differently and a lot worse than white tables, even when it came down to how managers handle situations.
And stereotyped.
And
A lot
stereotyped.
of people that come into our restaurant have money. They're very well respected people who do well in life. Like, don't go walking around calling people ghetto and stuff like that's not.
Because you don't know who.
You don't know who you're talking about. Like, we're in the heart of Atlanta.
We are in the heart of Atlanta, and we're a very popular restaurant. So anyways, in that group discussion or whatever, I came out and I said something which was basically just along the lines of like, yeah, like here's words I need everybody to stay away from when referring to our guests: black, white, Asian, whatever, blue, purple. Just let's just not use these words. And then a couple of other people came in, and mostly it was, you know, like the black people sticking up for the black people. Like, yeah, like y'all can't be saying this stuff and So then Anna texts me and she's like, you know, I really want to say something, but I just don't feel like it's my place.
I don't feel like that's my position to say something.
Because you didn't feel like you were the oppressed.
Right, I'm not the oppressed. I don't relate to those types of situations because I can't. I'm not an oppressed person. I'm not prejudiced against in any type of way like that, but what I do know is that I'm uncomfortable when my coworkers and my friends are uncomfortable. And Saika was the one that told me, like, whether you know it or not, like, you saying something does have power. And like, I wish it wasn't that way. I really, really do. I wish it wasn't.
And you've exercised your power a couple of times.
After that, I was like, Saika told me I could do this, so I'm just gonna say everything that I can.
Yes.
Literally. So I went ahead and just was like, I'm in agreement with everyone, and this is messed up, and it makes me uncomfortable as well. Does it offend me directly? No, but it offends me indirectly. I don't like when my coworkers are upset, and if my friend is telling me this offends me and makes me feel uncomfortable, then I'm gonna exercise. Now, to be fair, before that, I didn't, and I didn't know how. But she was one of the people that told me how to do it. And so that's why I'm very grateful for the friendship that we have, because now I feel maybe like I have more of an open floor to say something and just to be like, yep,
don't do that.
Don't forget.
Because I do think that is like one of the major problems, is that we don't take time to educate people. Like, we keep having this idea like, oh, well, ignorance is bliss and people should know better. But sometimes people just don't know better. And if you do not correct the behavior, if you do not call out the behavior, if you do not give people an opportunity to fix their wrong, then they can only go about continuing it. And I'm like, you know, like when you and I were talking about that situation, for me it was like, you know, white privilege is a real thing. And if I come out, because I've had a situation like this at work before, where we had meetings and we had sit downs, and it's, oh, Saika's being mean, and me trying not to be the new angry black girl, like. So when we come out,
like, the fact that even has to be
a thing, but it is. So for me, I'm like, you know, like, let's make it work to our advantage. If I say something, if I say, hey, I need y'all to let her know what's up, it's gonna be like, oh, here go the black kids being sensitive again. But if a white woman comes out and she's like, so actually this is not okay, then it gives someone else a different perspective of like, oh wow, like I didn't know that was actually offensive.
I just hate that mentality. I hate it. I mean, like, I'm glad that, like, we've come to a place where we can talk about that kind of stuff and I can say something and feel okay about it, but like, it just upsets me that, like, that's how you are perceived, or how
even with like the sexual harassment
perceived.
Thing at our job, which, like, this is a whole nother topic,
whole
but
other thing. We
had a manager who had got fired for being a racist, but it also turned out that he was sexually harassing a lot of the girls,
and plenty of people had spoken up about it and how uncomfortable he made them, but it was only black girls and nothing was done about it until I said something.
And he got fired. Which also was not your fault. Because she cried about that.
I cried about it. I felt like I'd ruined someone's life. I'm fine now. Like, good riddance. Good freaking riddance. Like, a total creep. But it just, like, it's like a double-edged sword. Like, on one hand, I'm glad that I can speak up and do something, but on the other, it's to compensate because you aren't being taken seriously. And that's, like, genuinely upsetting to me. Not only because you're my friend, but, like, I don't understand the logic to it. Why aren't you as taken as seriously as me?
Because this is America. In my defense, though, because I think that everyone experiences privilege to a certain degree, and it may not be globally, so please nobody get offended that I say that, but I do feel that there's pretty privilege, there's smart privilege, there's even dumb privilege. Like, if people think that you're an idiot, they let you get away with murder. Like, seriously.
I never thought about it like that.
But for real. So people experience privilege in different ways. And so one of the things that I think definitely plays up for me, why I can, you know, like, I'm always joking about the fact that, like, I get an attitude after a certain time at work. But, like, for me, I am a well-spoken black girl. And
Beautiful.
And pretty.
Beauty.
Right? Thank you. And so I can't tell you how many times I've had white people go, where did you go to school? And did you take speech class? And I'm like, speech class?
Are you serious?
Oh, I've had a white lady ask me if I took speech class. This was in Brooklyn.
Ew.
Working behind the counter. And I didn't understand. I was like, she's like, well, maybe, like, do you act? Did you do improv? And I was like, I don't understand the question. And she's like, no, you're just so, you're very well spoken every time that I come in here. And I don't think she was trying to be offensive. She's just ignorant.
Yeah. But that's
It's offensive.
That's no one has ever asked me that question in my entire freaking life.
Because they expect you to speak well. Even when I moved down here, like, people were like, wow, you don't talk like you from Brooklyn, like, you don't speak as rough, and you're just so, you enunciate, and you're just so well spoken.
Yeah, and
blah blah blah. And I'm just like, so
what do you say when people say stuff like that? I want to know what to say. Like, why do you speak like that, Saika? Why do you speak like that? How do you answer that question? I don't know. It's just the noises that are coming out of me.
out of my mouth, and they happen to make sense to you.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm ignorant, and I'm okay with admitting that. Like, because I've never, ever had anybody say anything remotely like that to me in my entire. That is
so what?
disgusting.
Like, when do you ever feel like offended?
Never.
Wow.
Never.
Wow. I'm not gonna hold you when I ask that question in my mind. You were gonna pinpoint a moment in your life.
I mean,
But
that's like
no,
right off the
that-
bat. If I have a moment to think about it, like
No. Wow.
no. I mean, if we're speaking in the sense of, like, as a woman, I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can relate to about being offended with stuff like that. But on the terms that we're speaking, nothing.
Do you ever feel almost like, or have you ever felt almost apologetic
Yes.
for your race?
Yes. 1,000% yes. All the time.
What is like the trigger for that?
A lot of it is stuff that I see online, and then a lot of the situations, like at work, I'm just like, I can't imagine saying or thinking the things that people have the audacity to say to another person. Just like with that whole situation, get their ghetto asses out of here or whatever. She said, like, I can't fathom having the kahunas to mutter something like that to another person. It makes me cringe. It makes me uncomfortable. And, I almost just said his name. I told our owner that I had to sit down with him and was just like, this has to stop. Like, you can't. Or like how? But how does it? I don't know. How does that have to stop? These people exist everywhere.
They do, but again, like, it's like I said in like the other episode where I'm like, it brings people to the forefront. And the only way to fix it is if we know where the problem is to just expose
them.
So
I've been saying this for so long. I definitely appreciate your approach to like education and awareness. Expose them first. Expose them. I'm sorry. Like,
call them
Public shaming is the only like solution. I feel like because people that ignorant are not willing to learn.
Yeah.
That you like expose them.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to wear this robe and to be in your presence and to be wearing.
Yeah, Starstruck highlighter. The
link in bio or link in description. description it. Starstruck Cosmetics.
Yes, one of my first models.
Grab a glass of red wine and
Yes.
have a good conversation.
Yes.
Seriously.
That was great.
Cute.
Cheers, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.